Hey guys, it's Graham. Welcome back to Truckerman Reads. Let's talk about comics. I caught up on some titles over the weekend. I've had a few that I haven't covered. The First Americans. This one is mostly artwork. In fact, I think there have been like maybe 2 pages with dialogue bubbles on them, and it was just like, hey, this is translated from some ancient language. The gist of this is pretty straightforward. It's kind of an imagining of what it was like for the first, hominids sounds too primitive. Like basically the first cavemen that, according to one anthropological theory, crossed the Bering Strait during the winter, following herds of mammoths and other animals from Asia into Alaska, and thus became, excuse me, the first Americans to occupy the continent. I saw this one on the shelf a couple of months ago. The first issue was out, and I think the second one was like 2 weeks away from coming out. And I've got a casual interest in anthropology as well as continental history in America, so I picked up the first one. I thought the artwork was beautiful, and it's cool. It just shows what it might have been like for these early cavemen to struggle to find food, and then they see a herd of mammoths crossing this frozen land bridge, and they follow them, and they end up in a strange new place, and just shows some interactions with nature and how they might have acted. When I picked up the third issue, the guy at the store was like, "This isn't like really about the first Americans, is it?" And I kind of explained the pitch to him. It might have a bit more of a niche interest to it, but overall, just the art is beautiful, and like the story is going somewhere. To the extent that there is a story, it's just a representation of an idea. And I thought it was a cool way to tackle that. So I'm 3 issues in, third one just came out. There was a sketchbook panel in the back of the second issue that kind of named the characters. When you get back far enough in history to where like you don't know anything about the culture that you're studying, you're just finding remains in the ground. They don't really, since they don't know what the people called themselves, they're just kind of named after whatever natural formation they were near, or perhaps the what's the word that I'm looking for? The anthropologist who discovered them will just say like, oh yeah, it was this people that they're named after my discovery until we know more about them. It's why you have, in the middle of the Midwest, you've got the Iroquois and the they called themselves the Haudenosaunee, and also the Lakota and the Dakota, and I think Nakota was another one of those groups. The French called them the Sioux. Like they've got names for themselves that are known to history, but then predating them, you've got the Hopewell people and like generally the mound builders. You go back far enough, and you've got the Fremont people out west. Well, in this case, the first Americans is about the Clovis people. And so this sketchbook page had the one kind of main figure that it's following. I guess the artist just, in his own head named this guy Clovis. You wouldn't really get that from the pages of the book, but there it is. I think it's cool, and again, I think the artwork is really beautiful, and it's been a treat to pick those up and just kind of thumb through them and see what the artist is doing with it. As far as more substantive reading, I've been following along with Spider-Man and Wolverine. Issue 5 just dropped. And this is one where I think the concept kind of outshines the execution. There's been some mystery about what's going on through the first 4 issues. The gist of it is that Peter Parker finds video evidence of his parents dying in a plane crash, and the evidence suggests that Wolverine was on the plane and that he killed them because he knew he would survive. And this execution took place, if I remember right, before Wolverine got his adamantium. So his memories of it are foggy. And so when Peter Parker confronts Logan about it, Logan's like, man, I knew I was a bad guy before and that I was kind of a hitman, but I don't really remember, a whole lot about those days. And so Peter and Logan are beefing while they're also being chased down by some new villain named Dread Shadow, who I think is a new creation for this story. In issue 5, they finally get to square off with Dread Shadow and find out what he's after. He planted the video in front of Peter to to get him and Logan to fight each other. It turns out that supposedly something that Peter and Logan did back in the day ultimately resulted in Dread Shadow's daughter's death. And so he's trying to get them to kill each other. It's not necessarily like a novel thing. I mean, even the MCU did that back in 2016 with their adaptation of Civil War, where, you know, their version of Baron Zemo tried to get Iron Man and Cap to fight each other because his family died after Sokovia in Age of Ultron. So I don't think the idea behind that was so novel. It was more about getting Spider-Man and Wolverine to team up and then to fight each other. And the artwork has been superb through 5 issues on this. Also, so I don't read like so many of the mainline Marvel comics. I'm not following like the main Spider-Man story, the main X-Men story. I hear about those things peripherally, but I only pick up a couple of Marvel titles here and there. You know, call me a normie. I didn't know that in the comics, Peter Parker has a sister. She pops up in this one. She's got a role to play. I guess I should have put a spoiler warning on this. Whatever. But I won't say too much more about her in case you want to read those. There's going to be another issue of it. I don't know how long this series will go. I think it is just a mini-series, and if they do a 6th issue, it could conclude based on how the story beats are going. But it's been cool. This one's been a treat. Rook Exodus started back up. Issue 7 just popped up. I bought the trade paperback for my nephew for 1 through 6. Obviously, I picked up these when it started last spring. And this is one that, like, we got through the first 6 issues, and then they didn't rush to get it out. You know, Gary Fabok and Brian Hitch, I think, is one of the artists. I can't remember who all's on it. Man, this one is just fantastic. Out of all of the books that Ghost Machine is putting out, and I'm subbed to about half of them, and the ones that I'm subbed to, I just love them. Rook Exodus is far and away the best. And so that first arc concluded. Now Rook is committed hard to trying to save this planet, Exodus, but he needs to find other wardens to do it, and he goes around hunting them, but not hunting them, like hunting them down to talk to them and tell them what's going on. Concept is great, execution is great, the artwork is just mind-blowingly good. I love this comic. It is my favorite one that Ghost Machine is putting out. And then I also, when I picked up the preview guides over the summer, I decided to sub to this one. I picked up Spider-Man Noir. This is a new mini-series, I guess, from Marvel. They wanted to get this one out because there's an animated Spider-Man Noir coming out on Amazon soon. They've done this character before. There was a series of Noir-style comics. They did Spider-Man, they did Daredevil. I want to say there was an Iron Man. I checked out a couple of the hardcovers from the library years ago because after that first Miles Morales movie came out, I saw Nick Cage Spider-Man Noir. I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to check that out. I want to see more about that. Yeah, it actually was a comic. I don't think the comic was all that great. It was the art was too dark in all of them. Dark not just thematically, but in terms of actual technique. And I didn't really get into the stories. I checked out the Daredevil one and the Spider-Man one. This one, it's a little bit brighter, again, both in terms of the execution and the concept. In this one, Peter Parker isn't so much a photographer as much as he's a PI. He just broke up with MJ. Aunt May knows that he's Spider-Man. He's typically, behind on his bills, and he needs a client to help him catch up on things. That's the way a lot of these noir-style PI stories go. And wouldn't you know it, the very wealthy Gwen Stacy walks into his room and darkens his doorway and offers him a retainer because her father, the police chief, just wound up dead, and she wants real answers because she knows the police force is corrupt, and if she asks them to handle it, then she won't get the truth, and so here she is hiring Pete. Great banter, great again, great artwork. I mean, all of these books that I've gotten recently, just the illustrations and the coloring and all that stuff is just off the charts. It's been so good. And the dialogue, especially, like Peter Parker is a character that you have to get right in terms of his dialogue. Like he's got to be chattery, bantery, and most of all, like when he's doing that, he's got to be entertaining. You can just write him saying stuff all the time if you want to, but it's got to come off in a way that's endearing. And the writers definitely did that. So that's what I've read lately. I feel like there was another issue. Oh, I read the G.I. Joe Energon universe story. I think issue 11 came out. That one's been fine. Like I've said before on Energon universe, Transformers is awesome. G.I. Joe is fine. Void Rivals got boring, so I dropped it. But even with Transformers characters popping up in Void Rivals, I'm like, they're not doing anything. I don't care. Hound is running around with Clutch and G.I. Joe, so I want to see what that's all about. But they just ended an arc with CoverGirl and Baroness, so I think with issue 12 we'll get into some other characters. Finally, Absolute Superman number 12 came out, and this concludes the second volume of this one. I believe that there will be, I don't know how many there's going to be. Supposedly, the Absolute line is supposed to be like a 5-year concept. And I think that's fine. I think it's good, actually. Like, even if it gets really, really popular, it's good to have kind of a built-in sunset so that they not only have something to work towards, they don't stretch out something that's good by making it go on too long. At the end of Volume 1, you find out that not only is Kal-El going up against Brainiac, it's really Ra's al Ghul who's pulling the strings on Brainiac. And Ra's al Ghul wants to manipulate Kal-El and kind of bring him into his ideological pseudo-religious fold. And the one downside or like negative thing, I guess, that I could say about Absolute Superman is that Superman as a character is supposed to be like buoyant and hopeful and optimistic. He's supposed to be a beacon of light in a world that is desperately in need of that. And the world as written in the Absolute timeline certainly does, need a beacon like that, but he hasn't become that yet. He's actually been kind of jaded and nihilistic himself. But there have been little cracks in that armor that have widened over the last couple of issues, and in this one in particular, he's starting to grasp for that. He's like not only realizing the level of power that he has, but the approach that he should take to how he uses that power. This arc ends with him and Lois and Jimmy in Smallville as Ra's al Ghul has all of his Lazarus forces converging on the place. You also get a neat little cameo from Lana, and you can see what that's all about. So I know not everybody else is as high on the Absolute Superman arc as I have been, but I just love it. But I'm a homer for Superman, so I guess I please easy there. But that's the update on comics that I've been reading, and I'm probably going to post this one for Wednesday because tomorrow is when Academy of Outcasts comes out, and I am going to strategically time my DOT break so that I can, once I'm done reading that one, I can do a review for you guys right in the truck. Anyway, drive safe. See you out there.